Welcome to the Top Listing Agent Show, the place to be to stay on the cutting edge of what it takes to sell more homes in less time. Each week, your host, Chadi Bazzi, will share with you the best skill sets, systems, and strategies so you can become a top listing agent. And now, let the show begin.
Hey, Greg Tibok, welcome to the Top Listing Agent Show, my friend. I am super excited to have you here to share you with the world because you have an amazing story. You're doing amazing things. And, I know you as a man of contribution and you want to give back as much as you possibly can. So let's begin by you just telling everyone, man, who are you?
Well, first of all, Chadi, thank you so much for the opportunity. I mean, honestly, I'm humble and I'm grateful for this, man. And I was thinking about it earlier, and I thought back to when I first sent you that message after I'd heard you on a podcast, and I asked you, how could I get in your coaching program, or what would it take to be able to coach with you? How much does this cost, and what is this whole coaching thing? And believe it or not, that was only 18 months ago. And throughout the span of the 18 months, or even in the first 6 months, I would always tell my cousin Christian, I tell him, don't worry, man, just let's keep doing the hard work and we're going to be on this podcast one day.
You know what? And here you are.
Yeah. So I'm ecstatic to be here, man. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Good. I am excited that you are here as well too. So can you just, obviously your name is Gregory Tibok. Can you tell people like what marketplace you work, et cetera, just so they can get an idea of where you are in the country, like how long you've been in the business and all that little stuff?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm in New Jersey. I'm in central New Jersey. I'm a bit of a road warrior, so I don't kind of just confine myself to one area. So we'll go really anywhere within maybe 45 minutes to an hour, either north or south. Basically, wherever the opportunity presents itself, that's where we'll go. So I'm an agent with Keller Williams. I made a switch over from RE/MAX back in August, and just really happy where I am right now. Incredible company to be with, incredible opportunity, and looking to take over the world right now, man.
Awesome.
So,
and that's exactly what we are going to do. We're going to take over the world, brother.
Yes, sir. So you want me to go into my background a little bit?
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea for, give us an idea of like, what did you do before real estate and why you got your real estate license, and, what was it like, trying to, do real estate prior to you and I meeting?
Sure. So I've actually been licensed for about 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
And the primary driver for getting licensed was I was buying my first investment property, and I was frustrated with the process because I felt like I was doing a lot of the heavy lifting. I felt like in order for me to continue to buy investment properties and buy them the right way, that the only way to achieve that was to have access to the MLS. So I just took it upon myself, to get my real estate license. I signed up with a smaller brokerage at the time, and I really didn't do much. The guy that owned the company and still owns the company today is a great guy. It just wasn't the right fit for me. It was a little bit too small. So I was in corporate telecom for about a little bit shy of 10 years. And at the same time, I was juggling. I was building my career at the time. I originally started in the call center with Verizon. So I was in business telecom, started in the call center, quickly realized I do not want to be in a call center. So I knew I had to get out of there as quick as possible. But I learned a lot of the things that I know today, and a lot of my skill set is based on the rapid calls, the calls just coming in, the rockets coming in, people screaming at you, objections, nonstop calls, and you really had to learn how to bob and weave. So I had a chance encounter where a guy that I'm still friends with today, a great boss and a great mentor, his name is Mike Mullen. He happened to walk into the call center one day, and one of my other buddies was going to join his team, and it was this little pilot program. And somehow we connected, and he introduced me to him, and he said, "Hey, do you want this opportunity? Do you want to come and take this job?" And it was kind of We didn't know what we were doing. It was a pilot door-to-door program selling business FIO services door-to-door. And I said, sure. I said, so what does it pay? And he said, the base salary is like 30 grand, but you're going to make a lot of money in commission. So I was single. I was in my mid-20s, and fear really wasn't a factor. So I took the chance. And to fast forward a little bit, I got to the point where I was the top sales guy for Verizon in the country, and we were making a ton of money. We were going on trips. I won President's Club trips. I had the opportunity to run through a warehouse and grab all kinds of stuff, like that show that you used to see on TV. But I just wasn't fulfilled. And to be honest, I was kind of tired of hearing that we were making too much money, when looking back at it now, we definitely were not making too much money. We should have been making more money. So there was some reorganization, some changes in management, and I actually left to go to a different telecom company, and I was selling enterprise services. So at the same time, I was kind of building my real estate career, and I'll go kind of into numbers and how that kind of built itself up. But it got to the point where, similar to what happened at the previous company, I wasn't in, I wasn't fulfilled. I felt like I had a bigger calling, and I really didn't want to talk people into, large internet circuits, and it just wasn't my cup of tea. So I made the decision over time, because in 2016, I sold about 21 deals while still working full-time, obviously. And then my wife and I would kind of joke about it a little bit. And every now and then when I'd have a few deals come in all at once, I would tell her, hey, Gisela, I think now's the time. I think now's the time that I should go all in. I should quit everything and just go for it. And she was terrified. Because think about it, to leave, a Fortune 25 or a Fortune 50 company, benefits, 401k, all that stuff. But then it got to a point in 2017 where I said, wait a second, this is starting to not make sense anymore, because the trend that I was on, I was going to outpace what I was going to do at the day job, and this is just by working nights and weekends. So then it got to a point where towards the end of 2017, I started to set dates, and I started to set targets. And I would say, okay, this is it. This is when I'm going to leave. And it's funny, my cousin Christian asked me, do you have a coach? And I can actually remember where I was when he asked me that question. And I think it was after we came back from a Mike Ferry event. And that was my first Mike Ferry event. And when I came back from that event, I was just lit up.
I think when you called me, you were still at the event.
I think, yes.
I think that's where you called me while you were at the event, and then we continued the conversation when you got back from the event.
Yes, absolutely. So I came back from there, lit up, and Christian asked me, do I have a coach? And at the time, I did not have a coach, and I didn't even consider getting a coach. So to give you a little bit more of a background story, I really believe that, just kind of drowning myself in a lot of these podcasts that are out there and hearing a lot of the stories from a lot of these heavy hitters across the country, and people that built businesses up from nothing, started from the point where maybe they were just an assistant, maybe they were only doing 1 or 2 deals a year, and now they're selling 100 deals a year. That kind of stuff just started to really light me up, because I knew that I could do it. And I knew that if there's people out there that are, making ridiculous amounts of money, and getting into the 7-figure club, I knew that there was no reason why I couldn't. So that's what really helped to catapult me. And then just to continue to fast forward, I hired you, and then it got to a point where I pulled the trigger, and I believe it was February of last year was when I left all of corporate telecom and my whole corporate career behind, and never looked back, man.
Yep. So that was February of 2017.
Correct.
I think something like that. And I know you and I started talking around January of 2017, et cetera.
Correct.
So without going too far back into history, just so, people can, get an idea before we get into the nitty gritty of how to become a top listing agent, et cetera.
Sure.
In 2016, do you recall how much money you made just from real estate?
Just from real estate, let's see. I did about 21 or 22 deals, probably about 150 GCI,
Okay.
somewhere in that range.
Let's say 150 GCI.
Yeah.
In 2017, what was your GCI?
Just about 250.
Okay, so we were
doubled up basically.
Okay, so basically we were able to, just about double up your income in 1 year.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So let's say you made about 250 in 2017. Okay.
Yeah.
What I want to do is I want to inspire people. I want people to really believe in themselves. And, a lot of times in order for you to believe in yourself, you have to see somebody else do it before you believe that you can do it.
Absolutely.
Do you mind sharing how much money you made in the first quarter of this year?
Well, I can tell you year to date if that would help you.
Okay.
Or where I'm at closed and pending. But yeah, let's say probably about 125 to 130, somewhere in that range.
Come on, man. I know your number is better than your number.
With closed and pending.
Yeah, of course. Closed and pending.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, okay, you've already this year. Okay, what's your GCI for this year?
Closed and pending about 250, like 247 if you want to be exact.
So basically we've already made as much money this year, not even halfway through the year, as we did all of last year. So we're on track to double up again, right?
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
It's a wild journey.
Good. So how are you doing it? So somebody will take a look at you from the outside and say, these are quantum leaps that he's taken. Because, most people will be happy by increasing their income by 10%, 15%, or 20% would be like an extreme increase in income every single year. But to double from year to year, that's what you consider to be a quantum leap.
Yep. Well, I mean, honestly, I attribute that to two things. The first thing that I attribute that to is protecting your morning, right? And I've gotten off the track with this a little bit just because, the struggles I'm going through to try to find the right assistant and the right full-time admin to be able to take a lot of this off my plate. But especially when we focused it on the beginning of 2017, was just protecting that 8:30 to 12 block and not letting anything else get in the way. Because I was so used to in my previous career that there were no really boundaries. Even though you got a lot of accolades and a lot of achievement awards and things of that nature, nobody ever really sat you down and said, how can we run this business more efficiently on a personal level? Now, on a team level, that's totally different. But when you really sit down with somebody and you say, what can I do to go to the next level? That shift of just not checking emails first thing in the morning, of not taking the BS phone calls, first thing in the morning or any time between, if you can help it, between 12 o'clock, getting intentional about not scheduling home inspections, appraisals, anything like that before 12 o'clock. Because what you helped me to realize really in the beginning was once you make those little sacrifices and you get to the point where you're going to jeopardize your morning, you're shot. You're done. Because by the time that you go on an inspection or an appraisal or you take a phone call, it's going to be a half an hour. You're out of flow. You're out of your rhythm. And then good luck hitting your contact goals. Good luck making your prospecting calls. So that was the first thing. And then I think the second thing was believing that you could do it. Getting to the point where you can listen to podcasts all day long. You can see people that are making millions of dollars. I listened to a guy, Jeff Cohen, the other day. This guy makes $1 million a year and is barely even involved in his business, 5 to 6 hours a week. So you can listen to that all day long, but you have to get to the point where you put this into play and you put this into action. Okay.
So you said something very, very, very important. You talked about the morning routine, etc. And then you said, believing that you can do it.
Yep.
Because something I always talk about is there's a big difference between knowing that you can do it and believing that you can do it. It's like early on as we were all growing up, we knew that we could become multimillionaires.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But, obviously for those that didn't become multimillionaires, it's because they did not believe that they could become multimillionaires, etc. So there's someone on the line right now, either watching via Facebook Live. By the way, if anybody's watching via Facebook Live, you can ask Greg any questions you want. I'm looking at the feed right here, and he'll be happy to answer it. And or there's someone that's listening to this podcast, this year, next year, whatever, or watching this on YouTube or wherever, and thinking to themselves, like, I've listened to all the audio programs, I've read all the freaking damn books, I've attended the seminars, I've listened to the podcast. I know I can do this.
Yep.
Why isn't it happening? Would you say that it's not happening because they don't believe that it could happen for them?
Well, a couple of things. They don't believe that it can happen. They're not surrounding themselves with the right people. They're giving into negativity. They're not practicing their habits, role playing and things of that nature. But yeah, 100%. The first thing is just believing that you can do it.
So how does one create a stronger belief system? Like, what are some of the things that maybe you've done as little or as big or whatever they are that helped you, like, literally believe in you at least a little bit more than you've ever believed in you?
Well, the biggest thing by far was journaling. That was the biggest thing. Getting into that habit every day of journaling on a consistent basis. I'm sure you'll be my witness, and you'll hang me out to dry on this. I resisted some of this stuff a lot in the beginning, but then when I went through the times where I would lose 4 or 5 deals in a matter of 2 weeks, right? And then I got in a funk. You would have to get me back on track to say, well, what are you doing in the morning? Are you journaling? Are you practicing your skills? Are you getting your mind right? So for me, the 2 things are morning exercise and journaling. That's the 2 things for me. I would like to add one more thing, though, that I think that a lot of people can really put this into practice now. And even if they didn't have the first half of the year that they want, or God forbid, if they don't end up where they want to be by the end of the year, the other main thing I think that catapulted me is I worked like a dog in the winter. I mean, I know that it doesn't sound like that's a lot, or that could be a contributing factor, but literally we were taking expired listings in January. I took a lot of listings in the beginning of the year because by nature, and I'm sure it's like this across the country, but especially where I am in New Jersey, we're in a cold weather state. The weather sucks like 6 months out of the year. People get really hung up on holidays and just celebrations, and then they hit the snooze button for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And I'm sorry to say this, but a lot of the agents may not even start working until maybe mid-February, for all I know, right? Or maybe not even until April, because they may be pre-programmed in their mind that that's when the season starts. Well, the way that I'm approaching this is when a lot of them, and I don't mean this as like a shot, at the industry. I just mean this as a learning experience for anybody that wants to come out really strong in 2019. When you put in that work, right, and when you're making phone calls in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you're wishing people a happy Thanksgiving, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, right? And they say that they're not ready. Well, guess what? You just had the conversation with them. And when you hit them the first week in January, the second week in January, they're going to remember that you hit them.
Right. And not only that, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, while you were doing the work, while everybody was snoozing and taking off, you were taking listings with a future date to input it on a future date, right?
Yeah, I don't even remember how many I had lined up going into the year.
I know it was at least 10.
Yeah, so something close
or whatever
to 10.
it was. I know we got to the point to where you had I remember you one time saying, I'm about to input 9 into the MLS. You know what I mean? And that was all from doing the work where somebody else would have gone on that listing appointment and never even taken, never even, had them sign the contract or whatever, and then disappeared, would have lost them, whatever. So basically what I'm trying to get to right here is that obviously there's a high level of belief in yourself that you are the best agent in the marketplace for that seller. And that's why you press them to sign a contract with you right there and then. And then the second thing is that it obviously I'm picking up on, well, I know I don't need to pick up on it, but everybody is picking up on it, is you got to have a high level of skill set to convince somebody to do something with you right now for the future.
Yeah, yeah. Don't listen to no, we're not selling our house, or no, we changed our mind.
Can you tell a
No,
story about that real quickly? Sorry to interrupt you. Can you tell a story about how Christian was on the line with that lady, and the lady said something like, we're going to interview somebody or something like that, and you put them in the car, you went to the house and whatever. Do you remember which story I'm talking about?
yeah, I'm trying to think of
You guys
which.
have a lot of stories like that, but
Yeah, I'm trying to think of which one that it was.
the lady was from Florida, I think.
She might have said that well, we had one where the lady actually came on the line and she said, well, I already interviewed one agent. I already have a second agent that's coming. I think it was the same day or it was the following day. So it's not even really going to be worth your time to come out. And he just kept pushing, and said, look, I really think it's in your best interest that you should meet with us, and got the appointment, and we went in, we got the thing signed. But yeah, there's definitely more stories than that. It's just not coming to my memory now.
But people need to hear stories like that. Remember, this interview right here isn't about like me looking good or making you look good. It's about like, what can we do to help the people that, are giving up their half an hour or 1 hour to listen to us? Like, how can we, contribute to them and help them out? So I like these little stories because they inspire somebody.
Well, I'll give you a good one. I'll give you actually a great one. So we took a listing. This is after calling this lady 5, 6, or 7 times, right? And she had already interviewed numerous agents, but for whatever reason, she just wasn't ready. And this was like 30 miles from my office, but in a really good area, but nowhere near where I was. So we pushed. We got the appointment, right? To make a long story short, we signed the contract. We had the place. I think we had full price cash within a matter of like 3 days from the time that we listed the property. This just goes to show you, though, the power of the universe and the power of the way that things work when you're working and when you get momentum, right? So we close her house. She has a great experience, right? She's happy, thrilled. She moved to Georgia. She actually already had a house in Georgia, and she moved to Georgia. So then she calls us and says, my friend has to sell their house. Okay, great. Can we get her information? We go in, we meet with the friend, $625,000 listing, we get signed. That was even further, like 50 miles from my office, right? But the lady believed so much in us that she was willing to make such a strong recommendation and a strong, a strong push for her to go with us, that she signed with us, right? So this is when it gets good. So then we're sitting there, this is still during the listing presentation, right? And I said, so where do you guys plan on moving to? And she said, actually, we want new construction. I said, okay, well, so they want active adult community, new construction. I said, okay, great. Where? She said, well, we want to be in, so-and-so area, which I happen to have sold 2 homes in this new development that I knew of. And I said, have you been there yet? She said, no. So then we were there on a Saturday, right? The Sunday, the day after, I get a call from the sales girl at the new construction office that says, I just want to let you know, I'm here with your client signing the contract. I'll send you the contract so you can sign it. So one deal turned into 400,000, 600,000, like $1.5 million in deals. And that was from a lady that I called 5 or 6 times, and we just kept following up, and eventually it converted.
That is so inspiring, bro. That is so inspiring because most people would have given up before they even made the first call.
Yep.
And that's what I try to get people to do, is to make the calls. Okay? So that's another good story. Let's do one more story real quickly. I'm going to remind you.
Okay.
I believe you went out and you talked to a lady on the phone, and I don't know what happened. She wasn't inspired, and then you ended up going knocking on her door, and she wouldn't open up the door, and her dog came out, and then she opened up the door and told you that she's already going to list with someone else, and then you went in there and you walked away with a listing. Do you remember which one I'm talking about or no? So now you can tell I pay attention to our coaching calls.
With the dog, man. I don't remember that one. Oh, okay. That was back in 2017. My friend, Miss Gonzalez. But yeah, similar situation. She didn't want to open up the door. Then I spoke to her on the phone after that. wound up turning into a great relationship. I actually saw her a few weeks ago. She gave me a big hug. But yeah, we sold her house. This is after another agent had the house listed for like over 500 days over a couple of different instances. And then we got her another house. So that's like $600,000-$700,000 in deals. So like this is what I try to talk to a lot of people about. When some people, especially if they've been in the business a little bit longer, they're struggling with finding inventory or finding deals, is you have to do the work. You know, you have to make the calls, because especially going into, you know, a possible either contraction or shift in a market, I mean, the people that make the calls and make the touches, that's who's going to excel if there is some kind of shift. So that's what I'll hang my hat on, man. You have to keep going. You have to keep making calls. No matter how many no's you get, you're going to get a yes. Like it's just a numbers game.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, people are beginning to gather that, you know, one of the ways that you generate business is working expireds.
Yep.
Okay. And can you let us know, like, how many expireds do you need to speak to, you and or Christian, or combined, do you all need to speak to in order for you guys to set an appointment?
I would say the ratio has been pretty high up until this past month. From whatever reason, it just slowed down a little bit. I talked to you about that, but I would say anywhere between like 30 to 40 contacts we can set an appointment, or at least set up a commitment that yes, we can stop by and we can see the house, and then from there, you know, once I'm in the door, if there's some kind of sense or some kind of need to sell, you know, I'm gonna still go for it. And for whatever reason, even if we don't get it at that time, we have the relationship. Now we have the connection with the client. So I would say probably anywhere between 30 to 40. So
Okay.
If it's a numbers game and you're doing 20 a day, you know, you should easily be able to set 3 to 4 appointments
Every single week.
Yeah, and if not, what I would encourage people to do is, because I was lucky, man. I came from that environment, you know, the call center environment. And if I didn't learn what to say, I would have got phased out of the business. So if you're not doing that, then it's no big deal, but just have somebody listen to you. Have somebody listen to what you're saying. And I'll throw this out there. I mean, I'm more than happy to jump on a call with somebody for 20, 30 minutes and listen to what they're saying. Like, I'll give you a great example. So Christian, I kind of just threw him into the fire, and I just told him just start making calls. And he wasn't getting appointments. He was getting frustrated. All we did with him was tweak his level of intensity just a little bit. So instead of, hi, this is Christian with Keller Williams, you know, I'm calling about your house that's for sale. Raising the tonality, like bringing the excitement up, you know, hi, this is Christian. And just like little tweaks like that you can make in your strategies can really help people to be more receptive. And even if they don't want to do business with you, you're probably not going to get a hang up, or you're not going to get somebody irate. They'll just say, I'm not interested, you know, have a great day too.
Right. You know what you said right now is so critically important, because a lot of people are like in the trenches doing the work. There's nobody watching them. They don't know if they're doing it right. They don't know if they're doing it wrong.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
Okay. And that's why I love, you know, my listings on demand training, which we put Christian through as well too.
Yep.
Because, you know, with listings on demand, one of the things that we do is every single week we let some of our clients actually do live prospecting, and then everyone in the group can see one person doing the live prospecting, and we're giving them critique. And the critique that we give that person that gives them a big breakthrough is never a big thing. It's always a little, small, minor adjustment that makes the big difference. Okay.
Oh, easily, man. I mean, I hear people preaching all the time things that I don't agree with, that I would never open a call with. Like, you know, calling and saying, hi, I'd like to speak to the property owner. In New Jersey, you know what that means? Click.
Exactly.
That means you're getting hung up on.
Exactly.
You know, what I preach, I mean, just if I can offer some little small amount of value, you know, in the amount of time that we have, is I don't care who picks up the phone, whether it's a man or a woman. If I'm on the dialer system, or if I have the information for the house, I'm automatically assuming that it's Miss Gonzalez on the phone. So, hi, Miss Gonzalez. Like simple things like that. I think and you're the NLP master, so you could probably speak to this more, but I think that just triggers something in the brain that they think that you know who the hell they are, when in reality, you don't know who they are.
Exactly. So, you instantly appear as if you are someone that they already know.
Of course.
Okay. And that's, step number one in the sales process is to assume the sale. The sale's got to take place in your mind before it can take place in the physical universe. Therefore, you got to assume that the person that's picking up the phone is the person that you are calling. Okay. So excellent tip right there. Greg, okay, so you got a good morning. So you build up the business by number one, putting a good morning routine in place, doing the lead generation every single day. Obviously in time, your skill set gets better. You start feeling more comfortable. You start feeling more confident. You start taking, more business, etc. How many deals will you close this year?
The target's 85, man.
Okay, how many of those 85 will be from lead generation, like from actual expireds and whatever?
Well, right now, just to give you an example, 12. So I've taken, I have 10 active right now. I've taken a total of 26 listings, and 12 of them were expireds.
Okay, so this year alone, year to date, we're not even 26 weeks into the year yet, and you've already taken 26 listings, which gives you an average of like over one listing every single week.
Yeah, we had an incredible probably an incredible March and April, which was a result of the hard work that was put in January and February when it was still snowing.
Yeah. So now the conversation that we were having yesterday is like, how do we do what we did all year so far in the next 90 days?
Okay. Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one.
So don't wrap your head around that one. Just accept the challenge. And I want to see if you're taking. Here's the question. Have you ever taken 2 listings in 1 week?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. So now we know that you can do that every single week.
Yeah.
And we talked about the little details yesterday of exactly how to make that happen. So we're putting Greg on the spot right now. And I'm going to say that me and Greg are going to do a second part to this interview at the end of this year. And, we get about 25,000 downloads a month on the podcast between all episodes combined. So I think by the time December comes around this year, or January of next year, you should have, this episode will probably have had anywhere between 15 to 20,000 listens to it.
Okay.
So there's going to be 15 to 20,000 people that want to know that you did 85 deals this year. So you're going to be the last interview that we do this year. And you can't come on saying I did anything less than 85.
Well, how about this? So let's level this up a little bit.
Let's take it to 100, bro.
If I don't, well, no, I didn't say that. That's next year. We'll talk about the 125 deal goal next year. But if I don't hit the 85, okay,
then I'll
write it. I'll write $1,000 check to the charity of your choice, man.
No, that's too easy, bro.
No, I think that's good.
No, that's too easy. That's too easy.
I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna hit it.
See, there you go. You are definitely gonna hit it, and if you don't, then you're gonna write a $10,000 check.
You said that. I did not say that.
Well, because you're gonna hit it, so it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. And I don't want your $10,000.
Talk about that, man.
All right, no problem. A lot of fun. Okay, so you're obviously calling expireds. There's someone out there that's been thinking about calling expireds for a very long time, Greg. Okay, because I get these people that come to me and say, I want to learn how to call expireds, et cetera, all the time.
Yeah.
What are you going to tell that person to say, hey, stop thinking about it and go do it? What do you want to tell that person?
Well, first you have to figure out, I think, why you're resisting it, right? So you have to find out, are you afraid of the phone, right? And if you're afraid of the phone, you have to figure out how to get unafraid of the phone. So maybe start off by calling, 10 to 20 people that you know, and just get into flow, right? Just checking in, want to see how you're doing. Just want to let you know what I'm doing, what I have going on, and if you ever need anything, please keep me in mind. And then maybe just dial the phone. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? That's what I always ask myself. What's the worst thing that can happen in a given situation? I'm not going to die. So even if you make a fool out of yourself, right? and you get to the point where, oh my God, I don't know what to say, just hang up. Just simply hang up the phone. And I'm not trying to train people to just start calling and hanging up the phone, but that's what I would say. Figure out, are you afraid of the phone or what the problem is? And then look, if for whatever reason you just don't want to start off that way, print out 10 expired listings that are in your general area. Go knock on the door and just have a packet with your information, your business card, and just stop by and say hello. Because what I'll tell you is probably 97 or 98% of agents are not doing that. So if I see a listing that I really want and I can't get a phone number, I can't get them on the phone, I'm going to the door. And I've taken listings basically at the door, or they let me in and I've converted them. Now I would like to do more of that, and that's an initiative for now the second half of the year, but it works. A lot of people are a lot more receptive to seeing you in person. And then one more tip that I would share, maybe it's like a price point issue, for whatever reason you think that maybe you're not on that level to call people of 400, 500, 600, 700. Start at the $100,000 condo until you get comfortable. Like, whatever level you're comfortable at, just make
That's where you
call.
begin. That's where you begin. Find out, because it's not about like, climbing the ladder from, from the bottom step all the way up. It's like, okay, where could I begin? Where am I comfortable beginning just to begin?
Yes.
Okay? And I'll give you an example. For a lot of the people I've worked with in the past, I always say, okay, who gives a crap about doing 100 contacts? Can I just get you to do one contact a day?
Yes.
Okay. And just document at the end of the contact, what did I do right?
Yeah.
What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Because now we've generated the experience.
Yeah.
And then eventually I move up into 2 contacts and then 3. And then all of a sudden they're freaking damn unstoppable. I got to slow them down. I got to help them find an assistant, which is not the easiest thing to do, but
And then I'll share one more thing too, that I'm guilty of this, and I made the mistake of not putting this into place earlier because of resistance and, just lack of bandwidth, is no matter what, I don't care how the conversation goes, always grab that email at the end of the call and actually do something with it. Even if it's as simple as writing everybody that you get an email from, write them a quick email at the end of your day, just thanking them for taking the time to take your phone call. Because you never know. Maybe you caught the person when they're getting on a train and they can't talk to you. Or maybe you caught them when they're, going into a meeting and they just can't talk. But now they came home, they saw your email, they appreciate that, and they actually do need to sell their house. So that's a big tip that I would say is, especially for the newer agents out there, don't make the mistake that I did, because I'm still, I still have cut wounds, I think, from making this mistake. Get the database in place.
Yeah.
And if you're just resisting, if you're struggling, just get it on an Excel sheet to start, then sign up for a CRM that'll import the stuff for you. Just don't miss out on that, because you're only hurting yourself. And you'll probably agree with this, if my database was stronger and where it needed to be, I'd probably be on track to smoke 100 deals this year.
You're absolutely right. And, whenever I think of a database, I think of our mutual friend, Jerry Messias, who is, also, hasn't been in the business forever or anything like that, but his focus is all on like, how do I build a database? How do I establish a good relationship with my database? And how do I turn that database into $1 million? And et cetera. We should have Jerry come back on and do top listing agent episode on that as well too.
Let's do it.
All right. So Greg, I don't know how good you are on time or anything like that. We have about another 5 minutes. We're good on time?
I'm good, bro.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm here for you, man.
Okay, awesome. All right. So basically, some of the things that you shared is get your freaking damn morning routine in place. You said exercise and journaling every single day. Another gentleman that we need to give a big shout out to right here is also our mutual friend, Rod Alawan, who since last September of 2017 has posted his journaling every single day, 7 days a week. never missed a day. By the way, if you've been following him since then and who he is today, he's two completely different people. He's much more powerful, much more confident, has much more money, has a better business, has a better following, and all that good stuff. So that was an excellent tip. But we got to bring Rod on here for an interview as well, too.
No, I think he's incredible, man. All the stuff that I see him doing is kudos to him.
Yeah. And then, okay, so, and then, you know, we got the morning routine. And then, you know, you said, you know, protecting your 8:30 to 12 o'clock, you know, for doing lead generation every single day. We talked about the importance of like, okay, well, expireds, you got to call them, you know, don't take no for an answer. You know, go out there, list them. And sometimes you never know. One transaction could turn into 3, 4, or even 5 transactions.
Yeah.
Like that woman, she pretty much said, I'm interviewing other people. You guys didn't buy into that. You set the appointment. You followed up with her. You listed her. She called you. She referred you to someone else who listed. And then that someone else went and bought another house and you got paid for it. You didn't even have to do anything, et cetera. Okay, so that's a lot of good tips. You talked about, you know, why someone needs to believe in themselves and how to establish that belief system. And now we just got a question from Christopher, who I don't want to say the last name. I don't want to butcher it. I think Christopher Rout. He says, can you outline your daily schedule for us? Can you give us like, what is your daily schedule like?
Sure. Well, we have a new baby at home now, so that varies a little bit. But we have a 10-month-old, so we're still getting adjusted to that. But typically, I'm up by about 5:30. Right? I try to get up no later than 5:30. I try to have my quiet time in the morning, where I journal. I try to meditate. That's one thing I'm trying to get better at, because I really find that even when I sit there and I just take deep breaths for 5 to 10 minutes, or maybe not even 5 to 10 minutes, I really feel that helps to give me a strong start. I get in the gym, I break a sweat, I get back, and I get ready to work. So we're at the point now where we're trying to figure out a more efficient way to be able to get the data, you know, that we pay for, the expired listing data, into Mojo quicker, so it's ready to go. So by like 8:30, 8:45, we'd like to be making phone calls, making expired calls. And then pretty much, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I'm dealing with now is just trying to keep us moving in the right direction, because there's so much that comes in as a result of having, you know, 10, 15, 17 pending deals. So I try to do whatever I can to not schedule things before 12 o'clock, but sometimes by nature I have to. And after that really is just appointments. I mean, that's what you should do. Your objective is to book the appointments between 9 to 12. You're setting the appointments, and you're setting the boundaries for, I'm available at 2 o'clock or I'm available at 6 o'clock. You know, what works better for you? And then it's really just going on appointments, following up sometime within there, and closing the deals.
Yep.
That's really what it comes down to.
Yep. And then Christopher, you know, just to give you a little bit of a tip on top of exactly what Greg did, I'm just going to say exactly what he said in different words, is you want to split up your day into 3 different parts. Part number 1, let's call it get in the zone. Okay.
Yep.
Meaning that's by the time you wake up to the time you get to the office, what are you going to do to get yourself in the zone, to, you know, like get yourself in the right mindset, give yourself a little bit of energy, etc. Part 2 of your schedule is basically what happens from the time you get to the office to the time you break for lunch. And I like to call that get the business. So we're going to get in the zone and then get in the business, meaning lead generation activities. And then part 3 is what happens from the time you come back from lunch till the remainder of the day, appointment setting, admin, etc. And that's called servicing the business. And that would be the perfect outline for a killer top listing agent.
And I'll add one other thing, Chadi. Just wherever you want to incorporate this in your day, sometimes I have to stop because I listen to too much stuff in between appointments and in the morning. But find a couple of killer podcasts or audiobooks. And if you really want to go to the next level, in my opinion, you have to be listening and learning from the top performers in the country and in the world. So whatever you do, just consume as much of that as possible.
Okay. You're absolutely right. So obviously the podcast is Top Listing Agent Show is the podcast that you definitely want to be listening to. We bring you an average of about 1 new episode every single week. And then what about audiobooks? Can you recommend like 1 or 2 audiobooks for everyone out there to, pick up on Audible and listen to?
Yeah, definitely. 10X by Grant Cardone is definitely a must listen to.
Good.
For people that have mindset issues, or for people that just are having trouble because they're stuck in their head for whatever reason, maybe you have a personal issue going on or financial or whatever, you just need to get unstuck. It's called, I'm not gonna say it. It's called Unf Yourself. Unf Yourself by, I think the guy's name is Bishop. I think it's Gary Bishop. Unf Yourself is an incredible audio book. What's Gary V's new one, Crushing It. That's another good one.
Yep.
The One Thing, if you haven't listened to or you haven't read that yet, you should definitely listen to that.
Yep, Gary Keller.
And that's probably three solid ones, I think, to start with.
All right, so that's funny. So listen to, obviously the podcast, number one. Number two, get yourself some audibles. And, something you said earlier, I want to circle back to. You said hang around other people who are doing what you want to do, who are positive.
Yes.
Okay. So some people probably don't know anyone that's more positive than them, et cetera. Does that person need to be in your marketplace? I mean, how does one go about doing that? Like, besides getting involved in listings on demand, but go ahead.
No, absolutely not. I mean, reach out. Reach out to me if you want. Reach out to somebody else that you heard on a podcast and you thought that they just did a killer job, and just ping them on Facebook. Ask them if they can talk. Go to events. I have an initiative for next year where I want to go to at least a minimum of 4 events for next year. So go to events, meet other people. You got to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Like, I don't personally like, too much of the networking or chamber of commerce or anything. It's just not my thing. But definitely go to some of the bigger real estate events, and even non-real estate events I would suggest to go to.
Right. And then, even inside this group, there's a lot of people out there to connect with. Like, I always say, well, why don't you reach out to that person? Like, for example, I said to you, hey, why don't you have a conversation with Jerry?
Yeah. I spoke to Jerry, Adriano, Rod I spoke with before.
Nobody ever says no.
Yeah. And if they do say no, you probably don't want to talk to them anyway.
Bingo. All right. So I definitely, want everyone to get out of their comfort zone and make a connection this week with someone who they've been watching that they need to create a connection with. And then I also want every single person from every part of this country to send your New Jersey referrals to who? Greg
Tibok. Greg sells NJ@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram, Greg sells NJ. I'll throw my cell phone number out there. I don't care. 908-616-9000.
Okay.
And if you're wondering how I got that cell phone number, of course, I used to work at Verizon.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Awesome. So anyone that's got a referral out, going to New Jersey, send it out to Greg. Greg, look, I mean, we've done so much work together, and there's so much that we can talk about. And if we were to get into all the conversations, then this episode would be a multi-hour episode. It will never finish.
Yeah.
But I'm really looking forward to bringing you on again at the end of the year to talk about exactly what you had to do from July until December 31st to be able to, do your 85 deals this year.
Sure.
And
let's do it.
Any final thoughts, for anyone, anything you want to say about the importance of training, mentorship, or anything like that?
Well, I guess 2 things that I'll say, right, is, and this goes back to the part about not having anybody listen to you on calls or not being in the right place, right? If you're in a place, right, where you're too comfortable, nobody's pushing you to make a move, to get better, there's not a weekly or a monthly meeting, you're not around any top performers, you might be in the wrong place. So that's the one thing that I'll say. The second thing that I'll say is you really have to track your numbers, right? And it's painful. I don't like doing it. I have no problem tracking my closed deals and pending deals. I just don't like the daily reporting, but I still keep track of it. So track your numbers and link up with somebody in the group or somebody else to send it back and forth to. And again, this goes back to my first point. If you're in a place right now, a company or a team or a group, and this is all not going on, this is a problem. So get to a place where this is going on or this is happening. And the last thing here that I'll leave you with that was incredibly powerful for me, this was actually at an event that I went to in January, put on by a gentleman in the name of Rod Cleef, who's a massive investor in South Florida. And he owns, I think, somewhere between like 2,000 to 3,000 rental units. And the one thing that he said to me that really stuck with me is you're only one decision from the life of your dreams. Right? And that's just the way like that I'm living my life, because I have huge goals. You know, I want to be in the Caribbean. I want to be able to do whatever I want, and I'm really playing for freedom. You know, that's what I'm playing for. I'm playing for freedom. So whether that one decision is instead of 10 contacts a day, I need to go to 30, or instead of calling, nobody wants to talk to me, I need to go knock on doors, or I need to make a company switch, or I need to join a team, or whatever the case may be. That's what I would leave you with. You're only one decision away from the life of your dreams. And write it on the wall, you know, get a damn t-shirt, get a cup, whatever.
Got it. So I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that forward, and I'm gonna say the following.
Sure.
And you know, some people might take this as a sales pitch. I don't. I take it as a message of contribution.
Yes.
There's people out there who have been on the fence about like having a one-on-one because you know I'm doing one-on-one calls right now, strategy sessions with some people that want to get involved in our listings on demand training, and I'm going to be doing that for the next 30 days or so, or forever, however long. And I would say some of you have been, you know, on the fence about like, do I have that conversation right now or not? And based on what Greg said right now, okay, you're one decision away from having that conversation with me that could ultimately change your life forever. Okay. You and I had that conversation in January of 2017. And I'm not saying that you couldn't have done any of the great stuff that you've done without me. I'm confident you would have been able to. It's just that I most likely got you there quicker. Okay. You know, obviously faster and saved you a lot of struggle in the process. So for anyone that's out there that's ready to level up and go to the next level, this is the first time we're doing this on the Top Listing Agent Show, where at the end of the show, I'm saying, I want to talk to you. If you're 100% committed to take your life and your business to the next level, I want to talk to you. Go to tlastrategycall.com and let's have a conversation. With that said, Greg, you know, I love you.
Yeah, man.
I'm your biggest fan.
I appreciate that.
And I totally believe that, you know, you are very, very close to the 7 figures, closer than you ever think. Okay. And I can't wait to talk to you here on the show again at the end of the year, to where we're going to let the whole world know that you ain't giving nobody, you know, $10,000 because you did your 85 deals.
Hey, I appreciate you, man, and all that you do.
I appreciate you, brother. So thank you. And everyone in the world of Facebook, everyone on the podcast, we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
You got it. Take care.